Hi, welcome to Planetary Calendars, Astro Portraits. I'm Ralph Dimitrius, one of the calendar's astrologers. Before I get going, we put our videos out on Planetary Calendar Astrology on YouTube. Please come there, subscribe. We do our portraits every Tuesday. We do our forecast for the coming week related to the calendar every Friday. When you go there, please subscribe. You push the little bell as well. You'll be reminded when the forecasts and the portraits come up. So we really appreciate it. It's a big help to us. This is the beginning of a new series on musicians. We've had a lot of discussion about this, a lot of interest about it. Lonnie and I are both musicians. We have a great love of music. So it's been really interesting as we've done the research, because right before this we did action actors and actresses. And you would think they're all performers. The charts should be kind of similar. Not even close. Not even close. The charts are so different in terms of their core personalities. In one way, they're very similar in that there's a tendency for them to have high visibility, people who like to be very visible. And there's also, of course, markers in there about being very successful, really being focused on success. And that's true in both cases. These are people who are well known. That's why we can, being able to do the chart is such a fantastic way of demonstrating how the chart is expressing itself. But once you go into how the chart functions, you might say the wiring diagram of the chart, what matters to them, it's very, very different. It's very, very different. And we're going to be looking at the charts of current artists, but also artists from the past. And we may also be looking at the charts of people in the far past, people like Beethoven and Mozart. Because interestingly, we have birth data on them. They were born typically into good families at a time when astrology was very important, so their birth times were recorded pretty precisely. So we have birth data on this, and it's interesting to see these classic artists, how are their charts designed at a time when all performances were done live. There were no recordings. The performance took place, and the musician or the composer might be up there themselves. They were always hearing how their works were received. It was a very different experience. Most of these artists that we're talking about, most of us hear them through recordings. We don't see them live. We hear them through recordings. It's a very different dynamic. So who are we going to be looking at? Well, we're going to actually start off with Beyonce Knowles, which is very interesting. Beyonce is actually born on September 4th, 1981. She's born very close to a bunch of other people. She's born 6 days away from Jennifer Hudson, same year. Alicia Keys was born in the same year in Aquarius. Britney Spears was born that year, as was Kelly Rowland. You see a lot of parallels that go on here. Then we're going to go back and we're going to look at Bob Marley, one of the great reggae artists, whose chart is fascinating. Just a fascinating chart in an Aquarian. We don't run into that many Aquarian musicians, but they're usually remarkable. Norah Jones, the wonderful artist and singer. Joni Mitchell, an older artist, one that Lonnie and my generation was very exposed to, a Scorpio. And it's interesting, their charts, that generation's charts, the musicians, were very different from the current ones. The current charts of current artists, you can see their connection through social media, you can see their visibility. Where the older artists, it was much more internalized. There was things that brought them to the fore, but it was much more internalized. A number of current artists is Pink, who, like Beyonce, is another Virgo. I'm born in Virgo, so I always have an affinity for at least finding their chart, even if I don't listen to their music. Not that I don't. Adam Levine, the other side of the zodiac, a Piscean, born in 79. Adele, the quintessential singer. For years, so many of the great opera singers were born in Taurus. Almost none of these people are, but Adele is. The son's born at 15 degrees Taurus, born in 1988, with the moon in Sagittarius, which is a real good position for these folks because they have to travel so much. It's interesting. I mentioned about Beyonce and Jennifer Hudson. In the movie Dreamgirls, the three main singers in that were all Virgos, 3 Virgo women. All the other women in it, practically, of all different ages, were all Leos. These two signs represented. And then all the way down the list, there's one obligatory Libran. It seems like every movie has to have a Libran in it. It's just required for some reason. Rihanna, another Pisces, very much looking forward to this, because here this is someone who was born in St. Andrew, Barbados. I mean, and has risen to such success. And of course, Taylor Swift. How could you not look at Taylor Swift's charts and you see why in the chart, why her success came to her so early? What was the drive that she had, with that Mars, her Mars and Scorpio rising right at the ascendant, that drive early on, to accomplish so much. The Jupiter conjunct her moon in Cancer in the 9th house, powerfully placed position. This is a person who had a vision of where she wanted to go, very young, and was encouraged by her mother. And there's a whole bunch of other artists we're talking about doing. Sting, Bruce Springsteen. So it's going to be a really interesting series. Do you remember any of the, Lonnie?
Cat Stevens.
Cat Stevens, that was
Ed
a recommendation. And Ed Sheeran, oh yeah. We have a whole list of wonderful Aquarian musicians that Lonnie found the other day as we were entering Aquarius.
And of course, don't be shy. If you have some ideas of somebody you would like to see, drop us a comment in below.
Exactly, because we want to hear your ideas, because, we want to go outside of our comfort zone in terms of who we find interesting. So, like I said, these charts are so different. And what you see is a great love of the arts, a great love of harmony. Libra shows up all over these charts. Beyonce Knowles, for instance, has Libra rising, Mercury, Saturn, Jupiter, Vesta, Venus, and Pluto in Libra rising. I mean, the woman can't walk down the street without wanting to straighten things out and make it, even with the Virgo sun and the Scorpio moon, she can actually accomplish that because she always wants to take action. You see this preponderance of Libra shows up a lot. Taurus shows up in certain spots. But there are really people who step out, like, for instance, in Rihanna, she has Aries rising. It's a Mars-ruled rising, okay? And she has the moon and Venus in Aries rising with Jupiter. So this tremendous femininity comes across aggressively in a martial way as she approaches the world. She is never afraid to walk up to someone and charm them. Never. She just doesn't think twice about that. Of course, I can go meet those people. Taylor Swift was the same way. Mars rising in Scorpio. Not even when I go meet them, I'll get them to do what I want them to do. Mars and rulership and Scorpio rising. So it's going to be a fascinating series. And like Lonnie said, please send us your ideas as we put it together. And we're going to start looking for where are the parallels? What are the things in common? What are we finding that is a pattern that you find a lot in musicians, the same way we could find that in action actors and actresses. So that's pretty much it for the moment as we get ready to start doing the series. Please come see us at Planetary Calendar Astrology. Remember, we do our portraits every Tuesday. We do our forecast for the coming week every Friday. They're linked to the calendars. And if you don't have your calendars yet, okay, no matter what year it is, you can find those at planetarycalendar.com in the pocket, medium size, like baby bear, mother bear, father bear, those 3 sizes. And then under here, of course, the day planner as well. And we have the digital version. So you can find those there because you want to know what's going on, don't you? Until next time, be well.